Do you think you could pinpoint a time period or maybe even an error about that time?
I don't know. I mean, I guess everyone's bigger and faster, and you know, supposedly the only athletes who do steroids are in Major League Baseball, but I'm not one of the people who believe that. So who knows when it happened? But you know, it's the game is faster than ever. The players are bigger than ever, and I think I don't know when it happened, but you know, I guess sometime over the last, I don't know, 10 to 15 years maybe.
That's about the time period, kind of after the Ronnie Lott years and kind of in between the younger new age guys that you see now. It's kind of about the time period I would have put my finger
Yeah,
on.
you always had guys who, like you mentioned, Ronnie Lott, John Lynch, who really laid people out. But it seems like, I guess, over the last 5 years, where you have just especially Rodney Harrison, when he funny to watch him on NBC. I don't watch the show, but I guess he's on NBC pontificating on all this. But he was a cheap shot artist.
Dirtiest player in the game.
So I'd say over the last 5 years it really got out of hand.
Now, we all on the other side of it, not able to, be able to walk into the SI world. We romanticize kind of about what you do and how you do it, and we just think you sit at a desk and athletes and supermodels walk by you every day, and you've got the greatest job in the world. I'm pretty sure it's nothing like that, but being a fantasy football player and fantasy baseball player, I'm not sure how much access you have to any of the superstars or whatnot, but how much inside information do you get and use to your advantage?
None.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. First of all, I don't even know in this day and age with Twitter and the internet if there is such a thing as inside information. I mean, it seems like everything's out there, and Twitter's really changed the game because you have players actually tweeting about going to get an MRI, I'm healthy, I'm going to play. So if you're a fantasy player and you're not on Twitter, you're missing out because there is valuable information there. But as far as SI, I mean, I'm not in contact with any athletes on a regular basis. So in terms of inside information, I don't really get. I mean, the people who would get that would be maybe a beat reporter who's with the team every day. But if you're in an office, you're not really getting inside information.
Now, we all have our arch rival, the one guy in the league that we truly hate, we truly want to beat. He might be your friend, he might be a coworker, but you want to beat him in the one league that you pay more attention to than any others. Do you have the guy? Do you have the league? Or
Well, I'm in two leagues. I do a league with my work people at SI.com, and I do a league with my friends, which is the league I've done the longest. We've done it for years. And the friend league is the one where I definitely try harder, pay more attention, stay more up to date with things. But I can't say. I mean, there might be one guy in there I like to beat more than the others, but I don't want to say it publicly because I don't think he knows. So, but there's one guy in there I probably take more joy out of beating. But the rest, I don't really get caught up in who I'm playing actually week to week. I really just worry about my own team.
How much has fantasy sports changed your job, the job of TV announcers, just kind of changed the landscape of regular sports?
I should probably be doing more with fantasy and hot clicks, but what I like to cover is, we have a fantasy section on SI.com. We have columnists who cover fantasy for SI.com. So those are the people you should go to for information, who to start, who to sit. What I like to do for hot clicks is really find the offbeat fantasy. Fantasy provides a lot of funny stuff. For example, team names is something I love to do. We do that at the start of football season, start of baseball season. I always want people to send me funny team names, and I do enjoy watching games that swing on garbage time plays. There was a game, Monday night game a couple of weeks ago with the Titans, I believe it was, and Chris Johnson, Titans Jaguars Monday night 2 weeks ago, and Chris Johnson scored a touchdown with like 20 seconds left in a blowout. And I mean, it's like, why is he in the game? And what was fascinating about that was I actually mentioned it in Hot Clicks the next morning, and I asked people to email me how your game changed based on Chris Johnson's, garbage time 50-yard touchdown run, whatever it was. And this is what's great about fantasy. What was interesting to me was I got so many emails saying, I either won or lost my week, not because of the Chris Johnson run, but because of the Baronis point after. I ended up, tying. I ended up winning by a point. So from that standpoint, I think it's there's some really funny stuff that goes on.
It's amazing how all of the radio guys and announcers, you hear more and more rallying to try to get rid of a kicker because they talk about how it doesn't matter, how it doesn't factor in that much anymore. But here you are in fantasy,
right,
losing by a kicker point.
Well, in the league I do with my buddies, I mean, we don't use any type of traditional scoring. We have our own scoring system, and it's really, really wacky and out there. And kicking is actually, I'm going to try to pull up the scoring gear just to give you an example, but kicking is actually a big factor in it because we do our points based on the length of field goals, and we have like a -5 for missed extra points. Here it is. Here's how we do it. A missed field goal, if it's between 0 and 19 yards, and obviously there's no such thing as a 0-yard field goal. You have to put that in for Yahoo. But if you miss a field goal 19 yards or less, it's a -15.
Wow.
But if your kicker kicks a 50-yard field goal or more, you get 15 points. So we have a league where kicking is actually a big factor in it.
Game changing.
Like we have a wacky scoring system, so it's fun.
Wow. Yeah, and you're starting to hear more and more of those leagues. The PPR leagues are actually really growing in popularity over the last couple of years, and I'm a huge fan of it. And I can't quite get into the independent defense of player stuff. Well, do you have a personal?
We don't do that. We go team defense, and I actually could go either way on it. If I would prefer probably not to have to bother to keep up with defensive players, especially with injuries and this and that. I have enough to do with the offensive players. So, if I had a preference, I would say let's just do team defense. But if the league voted or whatever and they want to do, players, it wouldn't really bother me that much.
Now, anybody who follows you on SI.com, Hot Clicks, and the Extra Mustard, and on Twitter will know that you are a diehard Derek Jeter fan and a diehard Yankees fan.
Are they playing tonight?
No, neither are my Red Sox, so we'll put that away for.
Am I playing tonight?
He might. Derek Jeter's showing up everywhere nowadays. There was a report, I don't know how popular it was, but it hit the airwaves down here in Detroit that Derek Jeter had a 20% chance of leaving the Yankees. I believe it's BS.
That report is off by 20%.
Yeah, see, I believe it's BS. It's BS. Everybody else does. But let's just say we're in bizarro baseball world, and Derek Jeter finds himself leaving the Yankees. Do you follow Jeter, or is the team always bigger than the player?
Oh no. I'd always be a Yankee fan. That would never change. I wouldn't really. When Joe Torre left to go manage the Dodgers and Don Manning was there, I followed them more closely than any other team besides the Yankees, and I was pulling for Torre, but it wasn't like they became my team. It would be the same thing with Jeter. I'd follow him closely, and depending on where he went, maybe pull for the team, but still Yankees first and foremost, always.
Just now with Jeter dating your favorite girl Malika Kelly, do you kind of wish him to be a Marlin eventually?
No. I always want him to be a Yankee no matter what. I don't want him to go anywhere else.
Now, we're going to roll into a couple of George Steinbrenner questions because, like you're a diehard Yankee fan, I'm a diehard Red Sox fan. And do you see the death of George Steinbrenner impacting the rivalry? Because in my personal views, I see George being gone, the end of the absolute hatred era, him coming out and, lambasting the team over a loss to the Red Sox, and with the new Steinbrenners and us not being around the Yankee culture that much, are they going to kind of take up his banner? Or are they going to be more quiet and behind the scenes? And
they're definitely more quiet. They're definitely more behind the scenes. If George were alive, Joe Girardi would not have gotten a 3-year contract extension today.
Oh, I definitely agree. I'm not a big fan of his.
I don't think it changes rivalries. I think the Yankees and Red Sox will always be that rivalry. They're always successful, big markets, big payrolls, big players. They'll always have that rivalry. But things with the Yankees as a team have definitely changed. I think Girardi wouldn't be back. I think there'd be way more pressure on Brian Cashman, who did not have a good offseason last season. But they're more stable though, and there's a lot more status quo than there used to be.
Do you see a big change in their going after free agents from here on out?
No, I think because of the Yes Network, because of the money generated by their ballpark, because of money generated by marketing and global things that they're involved in, they will always have money to spend for payroll.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one. I just wonder from here on out, I know the old George Steinbrenner would have gone after Lee and would have gone after Crawford and gone after, they'd have paid $20 million a you to be a relief pitcher.
I don't know if that's the case. I don't think it ever got. I mean, last season, not last season. I'm sorry, 2 seasons ago was when they signed Sabathia, Burnett, Teixeira, and that was sort of the post George Steinbrenner era. You can't really get more outrageous than that. So, from a money standpoint, I don't think anything really will change that drastically.
Now we're many months. We haven't even touched on the hot stove stuff, but from a fantasy point of view, what's your outlook for the Yankees for next year?
I think Curtis Granderson will have a big season. I think it took him a year to get used to New York. He was hurt for a while. I think he'll have a big bounce back season. I don't see things turning around for A.J. Burnett. I would stay away from him. Teixeira is always solid. A-Rod is not. I don't know. I think now we may be seeing a slight decline. I'm not sure he's a top 5 fantasy player anymore. Maybe he might be. You have to be careful to see how his offseason goes. But 45, 140. I don't know if he's doing that anymore. I think Sabathia is still solid. Cano is obviously. Not sure there's that's the second baseman you want, that's for sure.
Wow, what a season he had too. And
I think he's going to get better. I actually think he's going to get better. There's still a lot of room there for him to grow.
Are there any players that you're crossing your fingers that they bring in?
To be honest, I'm like the typical Yankee fan. I haven't really thought about it because I actually it really irritates me when they're playing in ALCS and people talking about them getting Cliff Lee. Can we win the ALCS? Can we take care of this before we worry about the off season? And they only lost a few days ago, and I haven't. Obviously, everyone's talking about Cliff Lee. There's a lot of stuff about Jason Worth. There used to be rumblings about Carl Crawford. I haven't heard much about that yet. To be honest, I haven't sat down and figured it out. I'm still trying to watch the World Series and stuff. But when it's over, I'll look at who are free agents, and I'll be like, oh, I'd like to get that guy. I'd like to get that guy. But to me, they need to get starting pitcher. They need to get a couple of guys in the bullpen. In terms of position players, I don't think they need much. So how they go about it will definitely be interesting.
And speaking of the World Series, you brought up something interesting, and it's Brian Wilson's beard. It's catching. Yeah. It's an amazing, beautiful beard. And if Brian Wilson's beard were to get in a fight with Carl Pavano's mustache, who do you think comes out on top?
I don't think Carl Pavano's mustache has a chance. That fight is over quickly.
Wow.
I mean, with that beard, first of all, just the color alone is worth, evaluating.
It's a thing of beauty.